Hi, I'm Dean Spillane Walker. I've been involved with the collapse aware community for about 7, 8 years now. And wasn't too long after being introduced to the idea of human caused collapse of Earth and human systems that I started to write my own book about, primarily started by studying about abrupt climate change. And it wasn't too long after starting that research and writing project that I realized that abrupt climate change was actually not the most urgent of our many concerns and predicaments on this planet. And so finished up that book, and it's still available to be purchased and read if you're up for it. But in the years since, I've been producing as much support and resources as I can muster for the people of the collapse aware community, people who are clear that what we're in now and what we're going to see more and more waves of is the human caused collapse of Earth and human systems. And I support and resource folks in this way through a website, livingresilience.net. Through podcast. This one that you're watching is The Poetry of Predicament, a YouTube channel. And primarily what I've been most excited about in the past few months is the creation of what I'm calling Deep Academy. Deep Academy is an alliance of folks, with myself included, creating online video learning series that are meant to empower a person at whatever level they're entering this conversation about becoming aware of collapse of Earth and human systems. And each of the online learning series in Deep Academy has a different focus. There's, of course, the introductory level, and there's the what could be called a intermediate level, where people can get just enough information to take care of their curiosities or their focus of their particular concerns in the world. And we are also generating a number of advanced practices level learning series. And that's particularly got my interest these days, because I know that there are an awful lot of folks that will be watching this particular video right here that you're watching. Folks from the deep adaptation community. I'm a volunteer moderator on one of the subgroups of the Deep Adaptation Forum. And I'm also connected with the Positive Deep Adaptation Facebook community. And what I'm most excited about in this particular video is to invite you to what I'm calling a community of practice for just these times, and as much as possible to provide a visceral learning experience, a real hands-on and experiential learning experience that can be done collaboratively in an online collaborative form. This community of practice is, quite selfishly, it's what I wished I had been able to step into when I realized what we were facing. And now it just seems like this is the calling of the times, since we've got the coronavirus crawling all over the planet and really demanding, ironically, for us to slow down and stop. I can't imagine a more important time to put ourselves into as profound and effective a series of practices as we can. Practices like the psycho-spiritual practices that we all will need to face the challenges and predicaments at the scale that they're coming in. This is not a time to assume that whatever level of learning or practicing, in whether it's psycho-spiritual or psychological or just the pragmatics of prepping for challenges and breakdowns and collapse in the future, No, I really, my experience is that this is an all hands on deck time to deepen our practices. The, Jungian analyst Marion Woodman is fond of saying that to approach the remarkable challenges of these times, to confront the challenges of these times without a strong set of spiritual practices is about as foolish as running headlong into a forest fire wearing only a paper tutu. So here's the invitation. I've got an extraordinary set of 4 online webinars coming up on Thursday evenings Pacific time we're presenting a 4-part webinar series in the month of April. Thursday evenings, April 9th, 16th, 23rd, and 30th. And this webinar is an invitation to participate in true seminar fashion with one of the pioneers, one of the leaders, thought leaders of creating alternative conscious lifestyles in the face of our extremely toxic and even ecocidal business as usual systems, is Becca Young Allen. Becca and her then husband, Chris Martenson, whom many of you may have heard Chris's innumerable podcasts and, of course, his now quite famous online offering of the Crash Course from a financial perspective, primarily the imminent crash of human systems on the planet. Becca and Chris intentionally broke away from the corporate reality years ago, more than 15 years ago, and have since gone on to raise a remarkable family in a alternative living arrangement on a farm, their own orchard, creating the vast majority of their own food, and perhaps most importantly, creating a dynamic and rich community of support, of resonance, and with neighbors from all walks of life. It's quite an extraordinary story, and I'm including a number of videos that I've recently captured with Becca, as speaking about her own community building in this time of the coronavirus, and also Becca and her 2 daughters, Erica and Grace, and for you to get a sample, get a sense of the extraordinary family that's come out of these prescient efforts from Becca and, again, her then husband, Chris Martenson. These 4 webinar episodes will be vibrantly alive and responding to your concerns, whether they're the external kind of preparations and aspirations for your life and your conditions, your circumstances, or it's the internal preparations that address your circumstances and your needs in the internal, the more psycho-spiritual and psychological and even cultural aspects of life. I'm very excited. I know that I'll be learning a lot. I'm bringing the more than 30 years of training and self-regulation and community building that I've been involved with. I'm also bringing the more than 7 years of deep dive into this work of Living Resilience Deep Academy, creating these many aspects of support and resources for the Collapse Aware community. I hope you'll join us in this 4-part webinar in April. All the links to how to sign up for it and how to get more information are, of course, in the show notes and have been on the screen. I really invite us all to come together in this time, in this important way, in this focused way. I'm going to tell you right now, full disclosure, this is but an introduction. These 4 webinars, these 4 sessions in April of 2020 are just an introduction to what I'm hoping you will be even more excited to be a part of, which is a community of practice in terms of exactly this topic. What are the external and what are the internal preparations and practices that we need to be engaged with in order to have a chance of being present in the face of ever-growing scale stressors? I personally can't imagine a more important conversation to be having with others. The community of practice will be meeting a couple of times a month, and it will have a ridiculous amount of curated content that people can deep dive into, and also many opportunities to be able to buddy up with people with whom you resonate. I hope you will approach this series with Becca, Young, Allen, and myself on these 4 Thursdays in April. And I hope you will give some strong consideration to joining us after that in the community of practice, which will begin in May of 2020. Hope to see you there. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.